Yes.
A little hot, Doug. Okay, I'll call the school committee meeting of September 24th, 2025 to order. Superintendent Ray, would you call the roll?
Michelle.
Here.
Lisa. Marie.
Here.
Randy.
Here.
Mayor Groman.
Here.
John.
Here.
Megan.
Here.
Chad.
Here.
Marcus. Here. Cordelia. Superintendent Ray present.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Adjustments to the agenda, I do have two. They both are additions to the superintendent's report. We will have a morning traffic memo and an enrollment update. And with that, I move to item E, approval of last meeting's minutes.
So moved.
Second.
That's moved by John and seconded by Marie. All those in favor?
Oh, can we just wait? I have one thing to add. I would like the minutes to reflect that we were looking to have the last three meetings in the process of the superintendent's evaluation needing executive session time. And also, we were also looking to schedule, that I was asking for the scheduling to meet with our collaborating schools of Dayton and Saco. So if the meetings could reflect that, I would appreciate it. And that would be in the section under the evaluation committee, under committee reports.
All right, so we'll take that as, anyone want to second that? Do you want to just summarize that again for us, Marie, if you would?
I would like to add to the section of committee reports under the evaluation committee that the chair asked for executive session time scheduled into the agendas for the 2 October meetings and the 1st November meeting, as well as time to meet with both our collaborating schools of Dayton and Saco.
Okay.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded to amend the minutes to reflect that. Any discussion?
Oh, no.
Okay, all right, all those in favor of amending the minutes? Very good. Okay, back to the minutes as amended. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous, thank you. All right, after that, now I'll read the consent agenda, and after that I'll take a motion. So we have for nominations, Jessica Bishop, BPS BCBA. Appointments, Joyce Tarpey, BHS Junior Class Advisor. Yvonne Soto, BMS Ed Tech 2. Daniel Geyer, Bus Driver. Justin Van Niekerk, BMS Ed Tech 3. Andrew Barassa, BHS Jobs for Me Graduate Specialist. Resignations, Danielle Marigas, Ashley Hicks, Haley Posey, Lori Cormier, and I'm going to just pause here with William Harriman, BHS Ed Tech 2, resignation. That is 52 years. There's no words for that. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. And then a transfer, Kayla Cousins, transferring from Ed Tech 3 to KML teacher.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Thank you, Bill Harriman, and what a career. We're so appreciative.
I think that deserves a round of applause.
A round of applause. My, yes. Okay, Jeremy, we added a couple of items to your plate, and so take us through the superintendent's report if you would.
All right, just a couple of things first before we get into a couple of documents that we're going to review. BHS is currently seeking community volunteers for its annual challenge days on October 21st and 22nd. The program is designed to increase self-esteem, encourage positive peer support, and eliminate all forms of oppression. Volunteers need to remain on site for the day, but we're looking for people, and if they're interested, contact Heather Tremblay. A reminder that tickets are still available for the Biddeford Education Foundation Pillars of Pride event that will honor Joyce Tarpey and Maureen Grand Mason on Saturday, October 18th at 6 p.m. at the Lincoln. Michelle and Shelley have been working really hard on silent auction items, and so it should be an outstanding event. The BMS STEM students are currently planning their annual 5K race walk and Kids Candy K fun run for Sunday the 26th. The event allows 7th grade students to learn about planning aspects of a project, including fundraising, marketing, course planning, and race officiation. Money raised supports academic-related field trips, and registration link can be found on the website or Facebook pages. Last week, the city did vote to take ownership of the JFK school and property, and been meeting with Jeff and the city manager just about that transition of, because there's still some stuff in the building and what we're going to do and how we work together on those pieces. Now I want to just kind of turn our attention to a couple of other items. And one is enrollment update. I've decided that since they change every single day, that I'm going to include them in my superintendent's update instead of new business, because then I can get up to the minute. I did this at like 2 o'clock today, so unless it changed from 2 o'clock. And then I left on there the spreadsheet from last time so that you can see the change, because we added 12 students to our accounts. You can see where our EL numbers are at 419 with 33 pending versus last time. So just wanted to keep you aware of where we are from a student enrollment standpoint on that. The second item that I want to talk to you about is a morning traffic memo. We are experiencing a lot more of our younger students who take a parent's car ride to school, and there was certainly some chatter online about that. So I wanted to highlight some things in this memo for you guys to soak in and read through so that we can determine whether we need to make any changes or to do anything. I think one of the things that's interesting currently is that having some longevity in the district, we actually have a dozen students less than we had 14 years ago when I came here to the district at the primary school. We will be having about 100 more when we get to the point of all students being there after the construction. I also provided some information about bus details in there, about the average length of rides, how many spaces we have on a bus, those types of issues, looking at traffic patterns, spoke to Jeff Demers about, what are some of the challenges in the area, what could be done. You do have some limitations because the expansion of the parking lot, as you're looking at the primary school, that's all wetlands in the middle. So you have some environmental things that you have to worry about. I've talked with the rec department about before school care, and that was something they discontinued because of enrollments, and it wasn't something they could do, and then provided a couple of suggestions that if the board wanted to take action and add additional resources, what those might be. We spend $2.3 million on transportation. I have buses that have capacity. Our average bus ride time is 38 minutes, which is pretty good. If we were saying to parents in Massabesic or Bonnie Eagle that the bus ride time was only 38 minutes, I think they'd feel pretty good about things. And so I ask you to read through that piece. If this is something that we want to talk about at the next meeting, and you have a little bit more time to digest a possible decision, that's what I'd like to do. Any questions on that piece before I move on?
I mean, just to jump in a little bit, obviously, if the bus makes sense for people, we're hoping that they'll give it a try, essentially.
Yeah, we have capacity. We spend $2.3 million on transportation a year. And, we can do a lot of different things that can help alleviate certain problems or challenges. But at the end of the day, the decision to put a kid on the bus or to drive a car is something that's going to be a personal decision within the household, probably something that we may not influence. If we want to improve traffic, we probably just need to have less traffic going into the area, and you have to look at other alternatives. And I think when you look down through, there is some solutions around walking school buses or other pieces that could come into play. But with any option, we have to hope that we can encourage people and they'll take advantage of the option.
One of the options you had in there was a possible walking school bus program. Is that something that, if the city's taking over JFK at some point, would that affect that meeting area? Or is there some spot behind there where the playground is that would still be doable even if the city was doing something separate with JFK?
So obviously, I think in this situation for the short term, I don't think there's anything that would change, and you might, the issue that you have today might not be the issue that's the same with 100 more kids, and so this would be more of, you try something, does it work? Is it a shuttle from there? Does it allow people easy access out? Those types of things. And so, in talking with Megan at the school about her preference, if there was something done, it would be around the walking school bus versus just dropping kids in the morning, because nothing builds for a good day. If you have 30 minutes with a bunch of kids in a cafeteria before school starts, nothing says that's a good time or good things come from that. And so here are some solutions. They might not be the only solutions, but it was on there, and I wanted to make sure that factual information and options were presented to you guys before we had, before it got too long, and timing doesn't kind of work out for an agenda, but it's here. We can talk about it, we can study it, and figure out if things change. And sometimes things change just as the year gets longer too. People say, what, my kid can be at school in 20 minutes on the bus. I don't want to fight 20 minutes of traffic coming from the other direction. So there are some other pieces. One of the pieces that people don't recognize either is, you'd be like, well, don't you have the problem at BIS? Well, there's such a long queuing area in the back part. When you really think of the distance from the road to the front of Biddeford Primary School, that's not a large queuing area. And so you're going to get backup coming in. And then there's just the matter of fact that when you have a kindergarten student, we have all been there. It takes a little time to get a kid out of a car seat. I remember that being like the day that Colby could buckle himself and unbuckle himself. It was like, okay, this is good. Life is good now. That, takes time. And so there are some solutions. Sorry. Yeah, so I have a spreadsheet of all of us, and the average came out to 37 and change, 38 minutes. When you look at our shortest run is 22 minutes, 26, 29, 29, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 37, 38, 41, 44, 46, 50, 61, 69 minutes. Those are our bus times.
Because now we're at a different school. I don't understand why that would change the run time.
They're actually shorter now because you have one less stop.
Say that again?
They're actually shorter because you have one less stop
What's that stop?
in JFK.
I know, but it's still not gonna be like an extra, is it an extra 10 minutes from JFK all the way to the primary, or an extra 15 minutes?
When you think about preschool kiddos or whatever that have to unbuckle, and you stop there and you're on the bus, and then you go the you know, you kind of do the path around the 3 schools. Those times are probably shorter than they were last year. We can look on Busright comparing them to last year.
Well, we're trying, I mean, if one of the ideas or resolutions is to get parents more to just let their kids ride the bus, that would be a concern for me, because especially if it's a first grader, you know, riding a bus for that long. And I don't know the routes, all the routes, but I don't know if there's other, like, redesigning some of them to come in from another way. So they're not all coming in through Hill Street. Like, I know there was an access road a long time ago. I don't even know if it's still there behind the new courthouse, where there was actually a road that would cut across.
I
don't know
think
if
there's
you-
one of those that you can't take for that, if my memory
can't
serves.
use that road? I thought
Can't
it was-
use that road. Biggest challenge is coming in from the other direction, is there's not a lot of housing out that way.
Yeah, so you're
wh-
all coming from
I
that
mean,
one direction.
when you think about our population, you know, our longest rides are gonna be if we have anyone past UNE,
Yeah,
and then going
Yeah.
out South Street along with, those are, I mean, again, when you look at a majority of our rides, being under 35 minutes, from 22 to 35, you know, over half of your rides are there. Probably the one that's 22 minutes has 3 or 4 stops. And you put such a large mass of kiddos
yeah,
on a
that
bus.
one. But there's obviously enough room on buses for them to use this transportation. They're just saying that they're not comfortable with it.
Correct.
So that's something that we need to think about. All right, thank you.
And I think the other piece is to say that when you look at ridership on the way home from school, it's much more utilized. So take an example would be bus 3, okay? Our shortest ride of 22 students, 39 students ride that in the morning, but in the afternoon time, that same bus, bus 3, well, that one has 35. Let me give you a better example. 22 is an example. 48 in the morning, 51 in the afternoon. So there's 3 cars, possibly. Maybe 1, but that could be 3 families coming in. I can quickly, you know, edit this and do the total on the outbound buses, but as you look through there, there's a big difference, it seems like, in afternoon ridership versus morning ridership.
Randy?
Hang on, I'm sorry, but the construction, you say, might be an issue with the backup of traffic, and when that's done, I think there'll always kind of be, I mean, we have to come up with a different solution, because even after the construction, I still think there's gonna be an issue, because they're all going to that one school. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna have, it's gotta be more of a permanent type of plan, we're not looking for a, like a plan just to put a Band-Aid on something until the construction's over, right?
Well, I think there's 2 approaches, is there could be a lot of plans that you put into place, but do people access that?
Do people,
Do
like, we'll
people
put a
take
plan and say-
advantage of the solution that you put into place
Right,
on either side? I mean, there has to be, we can do a lot of things, but there has to be a willing party on the other side.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, we could say we want more kids to ride the bus, and we can't force them to ride the bus. So that's what I'm saying. It might always have this issue. We have to come up with some kind of almost rerouting plan or something. I don't know. I haven't been down there that time of day. I'm probably gonna take a walk to see what it looks like, but I've heard so many people talk about it. I guess it's something that we definitely will have to work on, because I don't see it going away when the construction's done. It's still gonna be a problem, because everyone's going to the same school. So,
Randy?
What do we do for outreach throughout the school year to promote people taking the bus? Like, so my kids don't take the bus, and my first thought is, if I was going to make them take a bus, I'd be like, okay, who do I reach out to facilitate that? What route would my kids be on? That might be a deciding factor for me. Like, just, is there information going out throughout the year to people to encourage that, or maybe even acknowledging the traffic problems, and then saying, like, you really should reconsider taking the bus?
I think we probably would need to look at that approach, because, like, again, I don't know, Randy, like, if your kids aren't taking the bus, have you ever looked at the Busright app? Probably not. And so understanding like that may be the first thing is my student would be on this, and you know, you can see where that bus picks your kid up and what it looks like and the driving pattern. You'd be like, okay, it's pretty decent. That may be an option. You could talk about capacity. You could talk about some of those pieces. I just did the quick math on that piece, and our average ridership on the way home is 44 students versus 39 in the morning time. So kids are accessing some more in the afternoon, and I think some of that may just be about, you know, if it's your pathway to work, that makes some sense. I'll be very clear. I fought for years young school traffic, because a lot of times I'd be out at meetings and I'd have a chance to have the kid in the car by myself for a second. Even though it was a minute, we'd drop off, but on the way home, my kids always took the bus home. That was kind of a choice and that we dealt with, so.
Megan?
We keep guessing why kids aren't taking the bus. I think we have a lot of educated guesses, but I wonder if it would make sense for us to send a survey out asking why kids either, or parents either do choose to take the bus or why they don't, and then maybe we can target our interventions around that, right? If it is just, if it's bus times, then we can work on bus times. If it's something else, then we could, but I think we're just kind of guessing, and so it's going to be hard to make a plan that is going to encourage kids to be on the bus unless we know why they're not.
That's fair. Okay, thanks. Good discussion. We'll keep going, Jeremy.
Okay. Next items, I wanted to share some data with you. We were at a meeting the other day with the United Way of Southern Maine, and I found this to be fairly eye-opening around what it would be called ALICE, which is asset limited. I get it wrong every single time. Asset limited, income constrained, but employed. And this was a focus on York County and Cumberland County combined, where basically out of 84,000 households, 37% of the population in York and County fall into this category, which basically, when you look at slide number 2 on this, talks about the annual survival budget of a family. And in Southern Maine, that annual survival budget for a family of 4 is $107,000. As you look at rent, childcare, food, and that's a $75,000 gap from the federal poverty guidelines of $32,000. And so, you know, you get this information and you look at there, and then it breaks it down into, on slide number 4, our community and the communities in Southern Maine. And in Biddeford, you're looking at approximately 55% of our families would fall into this category. And so as we start thinking about the school year and we think about the winter months, and we know that we've talked about homelessness, and Marty had his op-ed in the paper this week, and we talk about the funding formula, I think this is really solid data for us to be using, that 55% of our families fall into this category where they are employed and not making enough to survive. And so I found this interesting. I wanted to share it with you guys. I think it paints a very interesting picture of our community, and the data here 100% backs up exactly what we've talked about with school funding, because we can see who the bottom of the list is, and that's a community with 3% free and reduced lunch compared to our 65%. And so it's here. It's another data point to look at, something to be part of the conversation. Any questions on that piece? Okay. And then finally, the last piece, don't have a lot of details, but we had the passing of a former employee, Chip Warner, over the weekend. who was a longtime teacher at the middle school and has recently been doing a lot of substituting for us. So just want to say condolences to his family. And, you know, was one of those individuals who retired from teaching and the next fall was right back in our classrooms as a substitute. Very valuable member of our staff. So sorry to hear about that.
That is a shame. Thanks for letting us know. I'm sure arrangements info will be available online and so forth. We can get that out. Okay, anything further? Jeremy?
No?
John?
In the beginning, you said that Pillars of Pride tickets are on sale.
Yes.
You didn't mention where you can get them.
Shelley? Online? Shelley? Online.
Where at online? Just so people know, I mean, we're gonna promote it, we need to tell them where to go.
Facebook or the website?
Pillars of Pride tickets. I've made a note on my to-do list. I grabbed 2 of them. Good, okay. Well, thank you for a good discussion. Thanks for bringing forward that data with the Ellis report and good discussion with the busing. That brings us to our student representatives report. Ms. Kane, would you like to start us off, and then we'll go to Mr. Perkins. And we need to get her a microphone one way or the other if we can.
So since we last met, the BHS clubs have had their first meetings. High school athletics have started doing their community service, with cross country doing a running passion. Middle school athletics have begun with 154 athletes competing in football, cheer, soccer, field hockey, and volleyball and cross country. Homecoming tickets are going on sale next week, leading up to the dance on October 4th. BIS has begun sign-ups for school activities with 87 students in cross country, 78 in band, 47 in art club, 78 in gym club, 50 in Lego club, and 82 in chorus club. And they're not done sign-ups yet for the civil rights club and drama club.
Excellent, good report. Questions for Ms. Kane? Okay, Mr. Perkins.
Prepared. So I'm sorry about that.
Any general thoughts or comments? It doesn't have to be super formal. Well, we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, you want to say something about that?
I could speak up on Challenge Day. We had our Be the Change team retreat that we do annually at the Kennebunk Conservation Trust, where we kind of get to know our team more and get to learn kind of about ourselves and what we'll kind of be doing at Challenge Day. It was it's very important for our Be the Change group. So it was very nice.
Thank you, excellent, nice job. Very good. I don't believe we have any committee reports except for maybe evaluation. Marie?
All the evaluations are in, and information is being tallied, and we'll be needing an executive session for our first meeting. I believe that's October 8th. Yep, October 8th, where we'll be meeting to discuss the collective data at that point in time. And we'll just need, and I don't know how we're going to do this, Jeremy, to try to meet with Dayton and Saco prior to that, if we could make that happen. And then we'll need
Before October 4th?
before October 8th. Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
Pull the rabbit out of the hat. And, that's it for then. So we'll be looking forward to meeting with them and then starting with the final process of evaluation. And thank you for everyone getting everything in on time.
Perfect. Thanks for driving that process and meeting our calendar. Okay, and anything further from any committee? Did I miss anybody? Okay. All right, very good. We have a series of new business items to get through. Jeremy, do you want to take us through the election day request? And I think we'll probably need a motion on that after that.
Correct. Just each year we look at what election day will bring. Usually have a conversation with Robin at the city clerk's office. She's expecting more than 4,000 people on campus that day for the election. And again, like in other years, our recommendation would be to have that day at the high school and the vocational center be a remote day and not have kiddos on campus.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, so we've got the motion on the floor, moved by John, seconded by Marie, and we'll go to Megan and then Randy for discussion.
Are your staff here on that day?
They are.
Why do we have to change this now? Why do we not plan for this ahead of time?
But we have to have a calendar that has 175 on the calendar. I guess my piece would be is like the presidential, like we have some elections that it's clear, no one should be here. This one, I'm kind of a little unsure, but then once you get the slate of everything municipal, yes. When we get to the June elections, I'd say we have like 200 people on campus, type of piece. I mean, if we want to plan for it before, I mean, I just sometimes like, you just don't know what's going to be on the ballot either. Like, I'm not, next fall will be, House and Senate, so you'll have a big one that year. The year after that, I don't know, and then when you have a presidential election, we won't be having people on campus.
I was just curious. It just seems like seems inevitable this is gonna happen.
Yep.
Megan?
Right, I agree. I think it is inevitable for the November election. I think, you know, we've cited parking in the past, but I think given that the November elections bring a significant population to campus, then it brings up, you know, safety concerns regarding having that many people when we have, like, our building, you know, they come into the building. So I wonder if we need to create a process where we say, at least for the November election, given how many people come in, we make that an asynchronous day. And an asynchronous day does still count towards our 175, correct?
With a plan to the commissioner.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
if
just,
you
I
have
have
staff
to
here, it
give that.
counts. Yeah.
I have to make that plan to the commissioner, just like, and you have to explain why you wouldn't make that up and what hardship it would be. An example would be, we had a water issue at Fairfield School a couple of weeks ago. Even though the rest of the district in, I still have to fill something out for the commissioner for that one day.
So maybe looking ahead, we do look at just kind of making it formal that the November election day would be an asynchronous day.
You could.
So policy could do that.
John?
So that could be something policy could make, so that the calendar, when it comes out, no matter when it comes out, would always make that November election asynchronous, and then you wouldn't have to do this every time.
Okay. Gave me something on my to-do list.
All right.
Ask Chad for some too.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And anyone opposed? Okay, looks like that's unanimous. Yeah, I think obviously got a couple of referendum questions that are projected to drive turnout, which maybe didn't anticipate, and then there are citywide bonds as well. Okay, Jeremy, how about the revolving renovation approval?
So revolving renovations is something that comes up every year that we have the opportunity to apply. I talked about this a little bit at the last meeting, where again, if you have a project, you can have a building construction project that is up to $2 million for certain things. And this year, it's only priority one, which is health and safety, ADA, hazardous materials, etc. If you are approved by the state will pay their state share that they do on EPS. So in this situation, you receive about 40% of the project covered by the state. The rest of it, the 60% of the project, is paid by the locals over 10 years at 0% interest. So it's a really good program if you're trying to chip away at things. When we look at the items that we would be applying here for, This would be for asbestos abatement, ADA bathroom upgrades at primary and intermediate school. What I'm looking for tonight is this is not something that you are accepting. This just allows me to turn in the applications, which is due on October 31st. Then this process goes out to the public to actually vote on these pieces to accept the funds.
Need a motion on that?
Yep,
I do.
I'll make a motion that we, go to the state and, for these 3 projects, the revolving credit.
Second.
Okay, moved by John, seconded by Marie, that we petition the state via the revolving fund for asbestos abatement at the BR-COT, ADA bathroom upgrades at the primary school, and ADA bathroom upgrades at the intermediate school. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Marie?
Jeremy, what are 2 little emergency situations at the beginning of the year with regards to, what, like a boiler, or there were 2 things early on. I can't remember exactly what they were, but would they have qualified for this?
So you're looking at priority 1 is health, safety, compliance, including roof structure upgrades, improvements to indoor air quality, compliance with American Disabilities Acts, hazardous materials abatement or removal, or any other health, safety, and compliance issues. The challenge is that in priority 1, roofs take up such a large pot of the money. So what happens is they have the pot of money that's available every year, and all school districts apply. Now, if everybody's applying for the $2 million max, they may not do as many of those projects. Things like ADA get approved, asbestos gets approved, and roofs get approved. We were so very fortunate that the 1 year they went to priority 2, we got the windows at the vocational center. And that's been like the only time we've been to priority 2 was that one time since I've been here as superintendent, because they never open it up. So these are the big things. The other piece that's, this used to be a $1 million cap, and it's a $2 million cap, but they didn't add any more money to the fund. So now, same amount of money can be split by less schools. Because you can't do, like there would be some pieces like sprinklers would be a great one to have at the older building of the vocational center. But you're talking probably $1.5 million just for that. And so, I don't know, it's hard ones.
Okay.
John?
So with this asbestos abatement, will that take care of all the asbestos at the
Yeah,
CRT?
we've got one more room that needs to be cleaned up.
Okay.
And again, it's not asbestos in stuff, it's in
Tile.
It's in tile.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And anyone opposed? Looks like that's unanimous. All right, let's hope for the best on being awarded those funds. And Jeremy, I think the next item is more of a report, is that right, on the EPS?
Yeah, just wanted to highlight this on there, and this is informational. So, as you know, there was a study that was commissioned by the education committee about looking at EPS and all of the kind of challenges that has been in place for over 20 years. A lot of the challenges we talked here a lot about. And so I put together some key findings for you. And essentially, the cost of education outpaces the ability for the formula to fund it. We've talked about demographics. 19% less students since 2021 throughout the state of Maine. Maine leads the nation in property tax burden relative to income. Special education students, Maine is 20% special education identification rate, national average is 15. And then the regional adjustment hasn't been changed since 2005, and that's where certain parts of the state get either extra or less based off the cost of living in that part of the state. And so they talked about some different approaches that it would take and what might be some of the strategies in order to do that. And when you look through some of the recommendations, you'll see that some of them are recommendations that we've talked a lot here about how do you balance regional versus local control. How do you think about making some of the changes to put income into the formula? How do you appropriately fund schools with higher free and reduced lunch rates? And so from my lens, where we've been pushing for this stuff, I feel like the recommendations were exactly, I don't want to say exactly, but other than to say we fully fund all Biddeford schools, I was very pleased with the recommendations that came out of this that gives us some momentum moving forward. Now it just comes down to elected officials looking at those recommendations and having that real value discussion about why does a kid in one zip code have less money behind them than a kid in a neighboring district. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. All the information's there. It's 250 pages in the full report if you want some good reading. But we'll keep you updated on that piece.
Marie and then John.
Do you feel like ultimately the vote in Augusta will come down to particular representatives of affluent areas? Or do you have a sense that people are getting an understanding and that it's been truly unfair?
I guess that's again, who may be sitting there when they come up to vote may be different than the people who are sitting there now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've made a compelling case over the course of last year to show the data about the inequities. And so we've been able to make that very public, where I hope that people, whether no matter what side of the aisle you sit on, can look at that and say, maybe that just doesn't make sense. I'm hoping that we can get to that piece, and we've had some very good discussions. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a believer that we can all have 30,000 of kids. We all have to be reasonable in this. We also have to have some conversations about, and I want to say this because people will take anything out of context that they choose to. I'm a big supporter of rural K-8 schools, grew up in one. However, there is a cost to small schools. There is a cost to some systems that are probably more efficient or less efficient than others. And that's a value decision of what parts of the state. To give an example, there are places in the state where there may be 2 high schools that have 250 kids in it that were designed back in the day for 1,000 kids that operate 4 miles apart. That might not make a lot of sense. And should all taxpayers in the state of Maine be funding it at that level? That's got to be a discussion.
End of the day, we're probably asking for some representatives to vote against the best interest of their own community.
Correct.
So what can be offered to those people to entice them to do that? Because no one votes against their own self-interest. Even if it's unfair, you can see all the data. But if it's not unfair enough for enough communities, then people are just going to keep the status quo.
Hopefully, Randy, that you don't take just what fears me is they'll look at 2 recommendations and say, let's try to bite off these 2 this year. Those are destined to fail. It's got to be a comprehensive approach so that, maybe the district that Megan's represented up north there's something in there for that, and there's something for a district, say that Chad, I'm just making this up, so that there's a greater piece. But as we've laid out, we have high value and high poverty, much like a lot of rural Maine. And that's the piece that we have to figure out. Also, I think that we also have to be flexible enough to say that the solution that works here in Biddeford may not be the solution that works in Van Buren. But there's a formula that puts everything together that says it's got to be the same. An example would be when you look at ratios for teachers, okay? They give a funding based off 14 or 15 kids in a classroom. Okay, that's fairly easy for us to meet. We can meet 15 kids in a classroom and exceed that ratio. But again, in Van Buren or even in Dayton, that can be difficult because we have years in Dayton as a small community where we have 25 kids in a class, next year 12, next year 25. Group of parents took a year off, from having, they're same families in these small communities that have children that are about the same age, spaced apart. So, maybe there's something that they talk about is that certain rural counties are working off a different ratio than southern Maine. That would make some sense. We did that actually this year, Randy, around vocational education, because they have ratios for teachers for vocational education, but those ratios weren't working for some of the northern Maine vocational schools because they're traveling 50 miles to get to a center, and you just can't get that many kids to come in, and so it really wasn't fair because then you're like, okay, we're going to lose the program, but you need to have that program to hope that 5 or 6 kids come and enter the field. So I think that's the piece that we have to do, is to be able to find out, can there be differences that don't hurt people significantly? Can you maybe back your way into some of this so it's not an immediate hit? Because if it's an immediate hit, it's not going to happen. You're right, no one's going to vote for your school district getting $1 million cut in aid so that the neighbor can get $1 million more. Just won't happen. So I think you got to have some thought process into it, and at some point in time you got to hope that people will come back to some core beliefs about fairness.
This is a phase-in process, correct?
That's what they're recommending.
This would be phased in over time, so
Yeah.
that we avoid that immediate punch.
Yeah, creating self-inflicted cliffs would be bad.
Well, John,
So, this study here that was commissioned, how many other studies have been commissioned over the last 10 years?
Of EPS?
Yeah.
Like every couple of years someone wants to look
So
at
I'm
it.
just wondering if this one's gonna probably just get on the bookshelf next to the others. That's probably what's gonna happen, because I agree with Randy. Nobody's gonna cut off their own nose at some of it,
Well,
so.
I think it's interesting because even certain individuals who are on the committee ask some questions about, so you're saying there's 20% less students and the cost of education has gone like this? There are some people who you wouldn't have expected that comment to come from. And I think that the increased cost of special education year after year on the state budget, something has to happen there, because I think we've pretty much, I think the data on that piece will show that there's a much larger majority of the state who is receiving less than the maximum receivers. Like, that disparity is so great that might be a place where people come together on to start with. Because when you have some affluent communities getting over $30,000 per special ed student, and then you look at places like Machias, Maine, that was getting like 3,000 or 4,000, those places are going to come together and be like, no, this isn't right. So I think there are some places where the balance is so far off that you might see people come together to have some serious conversation.
Let's hope so, we really need it.
Here, here. All right, well, thank you. Call your legislator and the neighboring community's legislator. All righty. Okay, we have a series of second readings now. Item D is second reading of EEBA, use of multifunction school activity vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
That's moved by John and seconded by Marie. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous. And we have a second reading of GCQC, resignation of school unit employees.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Marie. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Item F, second reading of KCD, public gifts donations to the schools.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Marie. Any discussion? Michelle? Oh, okay. All right, all those in favor? We'll get a cadence going here. And second reading of DJRI, Federal Award Conflict of Interest Policy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Marie. All those in favor? I'm sorry, I didn't, was there any discussion? I got ahead of myself. Okay, all right. Okay, I'll just take that vote again if I can. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. I apologize for that. Okay, this takes us to item H, and we will move through first and second readings if there's support for that. So item H is the first reading of JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion.
So moved. No, second.
So I'll second that.
Yep, and then discussion, Michelle.
And then I want to make a motion.
We'll
No,
vote on
not.
this one first.
Not now, not now. I always get confused
Let's-
with this
We'll
part
vote
after.
on this one
Okay.
first. And then we'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
All right, thank
Yep.
you. I was
So
confused
we're
with
in
that part.
a stance where we've got we're on the first reading of JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion. Is there any discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous. And over to you, Michelle.
Thank you. And now I will make a motion to suspend the rules and hold a second reading tonight for JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion. We're doing this because 2 weeks ago, the Maine Department of Education issued regulatory guidance on LD 1248, which becomes effective today. So we update our current policy to reflect the guidance and are asking for the second reading in order to stay in compliance with the state.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to suspend the rules to hold the second reading this evening. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of suspending the rules? All right, that is unanimous. And that takes us then, we'll take a look at the second reading of JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion. Take a motion for that?
So moved.
All right, I look, moved by Michelle and
Seconded.
seconded by Marie. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous. And then we'll consider if there's committee support, a similar sequence for this one. Item I, first reading JKAA-R, restraint and seclusion administrative regulation.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Marie. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And that's unanimous. Michelle?
So now I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for this one as well and have a second reading. This is the administrative regulations for use of physical restraint and seclusion. Same thing as previously noted, we made the necessary updates to reflect the Maine Department of Ed's guidance and are requesting the second reading in order to stay in compliance.
Second.
Okay, that's moved by Michelle and seconded by Marie to suspend the rules to allow a second reading. All those in favor? Okay, that takes us to the second reading of JKA-R.
So moved.
Okay, that's
Second.
moved by Marie and seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And that is unanimous. Good work, committee. And we got through those, and that's those are good and important updates. Is much appreciated. Okay, that takes us to the public participation part of the agenda. Anybody wishing to address the board this evening? Don't be bashful. We'd love to hear from you. Okay.
I have one.
Communications from the board, Marie.
I just want to thank Mr. Dakota over at the middle school for hosting a parent advisory meeting today. Both Chad and I attended, and there were a handful of parents there. We had several discussions about the practice of the emergency protocols and Infinite Campus and homework discussion, and it was a healthy discussion and some great involvement by the parents who attended. So thank you to Scott for hosting that this evening, and it was a nice meeting with lots of great info.
Thank you. Thanks for that update. Anybody else? All right, just a couple of quick things from me. They're both events. Tomorrow there's a grand opening of the new Firestone Auto Car Center at on Alfred Street and near the hospital. And worth noting, just because it'd be a great one to bring grandkids to or something like that. They have the monster truck and all kinds of fun things like that. And it's my understanding that they'll have some good news for the COT at that event as well. So that's at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Join me if you'd like. And then this Saturday is Oktoberfest here in Biddeford, and that will be the Heart of Biddeford's event. That starts at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Tickets are available, and that event is a lot of fun. It's over on Pearl Street next to the parking garage this year. So make a point of swinging by Oktoberfest Saturday afternoon if you would like. And I have nothing further. I would take a motion to adjourn if there is
So
one.
moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Thanks for a good meeting, everybody.